Welcome back to Keeping Shit Real, a podcast for parents to neurodivergent kids. And we are keeping shit real with the conversations. I am your host, Jessie Towns, and welcome, episode 7. I mean, honestly, I love it. Today, we are going to talk about red flags and advice that is always kicking about the internet. And one of the things that kind of really gets on my nerves is the fact that a lot of people out there on the internet, social media, life coaches, they're all trying to tell us that we've got the same goddamn fucking 24 hours in one day. Listen, I know there's 24 hours in a day. I am not stupid. I can count. However, when you've got kids who are neurodivergent, that is absolutely not true whatsoever. Let's be brutally honest here. There is not the same 24 hours in a day. And I think some days when you feel that you have got a good 24 hours in a day, that is when it horrifically goes wrong. And that's the problem, that it's just so wild that people sort of spout advice that is absolutely not valid and fit for purpose. And I see a lot of these sort of coaches on Instagram, on Facebook, on school. They all kind of say, oh, but come on, we've all got the same 24 hours in a day. Go away. If you have ever paid for a service for somebody, I don't know, it might be a coach or, a sleep therapist, whatever it is, if they don't have experience for neurodivergent kids and they are telling you that you have got 24 hours, the same 24 hours in a day as everybody else, like you need to literally get rid of them ASAP. Because one of the things that I think as parents to neurodivergent kids that we quietly misunderstand some days or completely forget is that actually we could be having a really quite a good day. Your kids might get off to transport, okay, there might not be any meltdowns in the morning because you've given them the wrong cereal bowl or you haven't got the right milk, whatever it might be for that given day. But then it can all go horribly wrong in the space of 20 seconds. And that is when we need to shift what we believe is something that's important or something that's not important. And I really wanted to hone in today on about a book that I read many, many years ago called The Power of Focus. The Power of Focus. If anybody doesn't know this about me yet, I love a self-development book. I've always been really into them. I quite like it. Well, I don't quite like it. I fucking love it. And I try and read one self-development book a month. Because you think by the end of the year, you've read 12 books. Now, I started I joined a book club a couple of years ago where we stick to reading a book every single month. And I found it really, really powerful. Hence the reason why I've started the Shelf Out Book Club. Because I do think that there are some books out there for parents to neurodivergent kids that actually can be really, really beneficial for us. But The Power of Focus is by far one of the, probably one of the most best ones that you should, if you're feeling constantly overwhelmed, you're feeling stressed out, I would highly recommend reading The Power of Focus. And I will put it in the show notes as well so that you can read it. Or not even read it, you can listen to it on Audible, you could download it, you could get it from Amazon, whatever it is, whatever your reading thing is. But the book it's so beneficial because I think as parents, when you've got neurodivergent kids, we constantly feel like we're living on edge. There's always something, isn't there? There's always fucking something, isn't there, that we have to do? Or there's always something that you forget. For me anyway, there's always something that I forget. I mean, I think it was Sunday night. So obviously one of my twins it goes to mainstream school. He's got ADHD. And obviously we've got a group WhatsApp chat. And at about, I think it was 8:40 p.m. on Sunday night, the week ahead chat came through. And it was like, don't forget, it's Stone Age workshop tomorrow. We can't wait to see the costumes that you've made. I was thinking, what the fuck? A Stone Age costume? Listen, I'm not being funny. I mean, I went to school. I'm not overly educated. Do you know what I mean? I went to college and I was an air hostess for a very long time. So I'm a very well-lived person. But in terms of academic, I actually had to stop and think for about 20 seconds to work out what the fuck Stone Age looked like. And then I suddenly realised it's obviously like Fred Flintstone. So here I am scrambling around at night at 9 p.m. making a Stone Age workshop outfit. And it's, Sunday night was actually a bit easy for us. The kids, but both of the boys went to bed quite easily. For those of you that don't know, I've got 3 children. I've got a 16-year-old neurotypical son and I've got 8-year-old twins. Both have got ADHD. And then our youngest twin has high functioning autism with a PDA profile. So Max is his specialist school. He goes to a specialist school, so they don't do all that sort of stuff because it's obviously too much for the kids. However, Jake goes to mainstream school, and because we'd had quite a good night, I actually had the mental capacity to be able to make an outfit. But I tell you what, some nights I'd have probably just sent him into school the next day without it, because I physically do not have the mental capacity. So here I am scrambling around, Googling what the hell a Stone Age workshop outfit might look like. So basically I just got some old sand. Thank God I had a pair of sandy coloured shorts that were Max's, but they were too small for him, and Jake absolutely hated them. And it was supposed to be a yellow shirt, but I'd accidentally dyed it slightly with something darker, so it was like a gritty, grey colour. So I basically just got a pair of crafting scissors out and basically shredded it, like zigzags, so it kind of looked like Fred Flintstone, made like a headband. But it's those type of things, I think, that actually, if the mum guilt, I think, the parental guilt also massively can take over also when you are trying to balance life, when you've got neurodivergent kids. But I'm going off on one now. But The Power of Focus is a book by, and if you've not read The Secret yet, or watched the film The Secret, I highly recommend that you watch it. It is absolutely life-changing. Again, that's another self-development book. I mean, your girl's all over it. But The Power of Focus it's such a helpful book for when you feel really, really overwhelmed. And it's written by Jack Canfield, who is just absolutely amazing, Mark Victor Hansen and Les Hewitt. So The Power of Focus is about how we can focus on certain jobs, tasks, mundane day-to-day life chores without losing our fucking mind. And it might be that maybe you get easily distracted. For me, I do get really easily distracted some days. And sometimes it is really hard to have energy. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's draining, isn't it, having kids that are neurodivergent some days? I'm going to be brutally honest. But The Power of Focus it focuses on basically strategies that some of the most successful men and women around the world actually have used to help them achieve what they want. And I'm not saying that we are not super successful, but actually we are successful. We're successful at keeping our house running day to day. We're successful at keeping our kids safe. We're successful at keeping them fed and watered. So don't underestimate that you think this is a business book, but we can adopt The Power of Focus significantly for our lives day to day with children and around our family home. So basically what it does, the book focuses on strengths, and it can help you accomplish much, much more. And I'm not meaning going out and getting your dream job. I mean just getting through the week without feeling like you are absolutely drowning. But it also can help you completely change habits, switching things up, but also it can really maximize your own growth. And when I talk about growth, I don't mean that we are out, smashing the ball out the park in our corporate jobs, because let's be honest, a lot of us are not working, or we're on extended periods of off time because we can't, because our children are not in the right education setting, because they're not being looked after correctly by the education system. So they may be suspended out of school, and you may be home educating, and that within itself is a really, really difficult way to be able to manage your life. But the key, so the Power of Focus, there's a main focus, the main part of the book of The Power of Focus that I've always adopted ever since. And sometimes when everything is getting way too much for me, I do think, fuck, I need to really, really think about what I'm doing. Because actually, sometimes if you're not writing stuff down and planning ahead, it feels really overwhelming. For me, I love a list for a list for a list. And it can be really beneficial having lists, but sometimes I do feel that also having too many lists can also having a list for a list can also make me feel really overwhelmed. But in the book, The Power of Focus, there's a massive bit in there about the 4Ds. Now, the 4Ds is a time management matrix, and it's derived from, and it's called the Eisenhower matrix. And it's just categories to help you prioritize day-to-day tasks by basically assessing what's urgent, what's important, and allowing you to decide, do I need to do this today? Can somebody else do it for me? Or can I just fucking ditch it entirely? So the 4Ds. So the first one is do. Do complete any tasks or any mundane jobs that are really urgent or that they're immediately important. It might be booking doctor's appointments, going to social care meetings. It might be EHCP reviews, that kind of stuff. We're going to need to do, aren't we? Then the next one is defer. And this is really powerful. And I think as a parent to neurodivergent kids, we feel like we have to take everything on immediately. But actually sit down, look at a task or a job and ask yourself, is it really important, but not urgent? Is it important, but can I do it later? Do I need to do it this week or can I do it next week? Do I need to do it right this second? Or can I do it tomorrow? Can I do it the day after tomorrow? And then we've got delegate. So the power of delegation, I think, as I just said, as parents to neurodivergent kids, we kind of feel that we have to do everything. But actually, is there an area that a task, a job, a form of paperwork that needs to be filled out, do you have to fill it out to take your own mental load off yourself? Can you give it to your husband? Can you ask school to do it? But also delegating tasks that are urgent but not important to somebody else. All right. But also, if you don't need to do it, don't do it. Get somebody else to do it. And then finally, the last one is delete, but I like to call it ditch, actually. Ditch it. Ditching tasks, jobs, anything that is boring, anything that you don't need to do, that is either, just get rid of it, ditch it. If it's not urgent and it's not important, don't do it. All right. So I want you to really think about this. I try and do this. I used to try and do it on Sunday nights, but I've actually got out of a bit of a bad habit, actually. So what I do try and do is a couple of times a week. Ideally, I try to do it on a Sunday, and I obviously work in commercial aviation. So when I'm at work, I work 3 on, 6 off. I obviously run the PDA parent community circle also, and I do this podcast. And these are all little things and I've also got 3 children, and 2 of which are neurodivergent, but it can be overwhelming. So what I used to try and do is on a Sunday, I would try and sit down and plan the week ahead. Now, sometimes, in fact, you know what? I'm going to get better at doing that. I'm going to go back to doing that because I do feel like it's, what's the saying they say? A Sunday well spent brings a week of content. And I like to think it's good to go to the start of the week, going into the start of the week with a plan. Not that plan sometimes ever suffices what is written down in my plan. But it's really good planning the week ahead and actually having a little look, because we're parents. Unexpected surprises will pop up all the time. No amount of planning is ever going to prevent an unexpected surprise from popping up, like Sunday night, the Stone Age workshop, and having to build a Stone Age costume. I mean, I was literally close to tears at one point, but I'll be honest with you, I managed to smash it out in about 15 minutes. I was well chuffed with myself. Maybe if it had been like Victorians, I probably wouldn't have been, because we just don't have anything like that. Probably have to dress him as Oliver or something, from the film. But it's really important that be prepared, and it's really important to remember that actually unexpected jobs, tasks, mundane things will always arise. It's just the name of the game, isn't it? Having children that are neurodivergent. But actually, if we're sitting down and looking at the planning side of things, that if we have an unexpected surprise, something that needs our immediate attention, and we need to, that first D, do it immediately, we can then start to look at all the other shit we've got to do and think, right, could I delegate that to my husband? Can I delegate? And it's little things. It might even be cooking dinner. If you've had an unexpected, something's just popped up. You've got to go to a meeting with school, or you've got to go to CAMS, or whatever that is, or you've forgotten about a speech and language therapy session, and you've got to do that, and it's dinner time. Delegate dinner to somebody else, or delegate dinner to fucking Deliveroo. Let them bring you dinner. And it's little things like this that can really empty our bucket of water that is our capacity. And it's so important that as parents, we need to look after ourselves, because I know I am really guilty at this. Sometimes I just charge through everything. I think, right, I'll just do it. I'll do it. I'll just constantly, I'm the one, I'll do it. And I think as mums, sorry if you're a dad listening to this, but I think as mums, we are really guilty of we hold a lot of guilt. We hold a lot of pressure, self-pressure on ourselves. And actually, it is really, really important that we look after ourselves, because let's be honest, if we get taken out as mums, fucking hell, it's game over in the house. Like my husband, I've had my washing machine, so basically a couple of years ago I bought a washer tumble, because we don't, in the winter, I cannot bear having washing out my house. And for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you know that I've recently just purchased a heated clothes airer. Can I just say, what a game changer. But again, that was a decision using the 4D method. It was a lot of money. It was 90 quid, which I thought was quite a lot for a clothes airer. But actually, what it's allowed me to do is it delegates another job. Like basically, you know what it's like in the winter. You put in your clothes outside to air on an airer. They're out there all day. Then you got to bring them in. Then they're still not fucking dry. So then and it was just driving me mad. Whereas I delegated it to the fucking clothes airer, and it cleans everything. Dries everything. Like literally, I'm not joking. If it's not really thick cotton, it dries stuff within an hour, and it's really cheap on electricity also. But back to my husband. So we have had our washer tumble for like 2 years, and he still doesn't know how to use it. So it's like little things like that. Do you know what I mean? The way we can make quite small changes, I think. Show them how to use it, delegate it, show them. My husband does know how to use it now, because it's got written I've written him a little instruction manual. Well, not an instruction manual. I make that sound like I'm such a bitch, but it's just like 5 post-it notes of what he always needs to put the washing on, what spin, taking everything out, just because he's just not very domesticated. But we carry a lot of pressure, self-validation. I am sometimes, when I'm having a bad week, it might be the time of it might be my period, it might be the perimenopause smacking me in the face. But I find that I can sometimes really procrastinate on a decision or something that I've done, and I think, God, I should have done that, and it spins round in my head for days. And I actually did a post about this on Instagram in the week about, I feel that if we don't manage our own time effectively by using the 4D method, on Monday, a perfect example, and if you're in my PDA circle community, you will know all this, because I left a 5-minute long voice note on the group chat yesterday. But on Monday, I had a day where I was at work. I was in a really important meeting for pretty much the entire day. And we had I felt like I was basically suffocating. I felt like I had a bag over my head. I was at work. I feel a lot of pressure on myself as a working mum to make sure that people don't think that I can't do my job, because I've got 3 kids and one of them's autistic, and I've gone through quite a lot of highs and lows in my corporate job in the last couple of years. I've only really really fully engaged back with being back at work in sort of the last 9 or 10 months, because for those of you that don't know, Maxie was out of school for 2 years while we were fighting for a specialist school, home educating, and we had to work from home. I had to take unpaid parental leave, yada, yada, yada. But Monday was just like a day that I really felt like I was suffocating. The phone was going off. Maxie refused to get in his transport. I had my childminder here. She couldn't get him in. He was running off. And then in the space of literally, I shit you not, in the space of literally about, I think probably 6 or 7 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, I had about 7 or 8 phone calls. The childminders, the transport company, and the driver were all calling me, and I was having to come in and out of a meeting at work. It was fucking 10 to 8 in the morning, and I was just, and I felt really suffocated. And then I kind of got it all sorted, and then it reared up again. pick-up time in the afternoon because you don't want to come home in the transport. So then I was dealing with all these phone calls. But actually, what I should have done is I should have just delegated that my husband or my childminder went and picked him up. But I was felt like I was suffocating. Like, what's the saying? I couldn't see the woods through the trees. But actually, if I'd have taken a bit of a deep breath and sort of said, right, hold on, what can I do here? What can I actually do right now? I can't do anything. I work at Heathrow Airport. He goes to school, miles away from where we live and miles away from where I work. So I couldn't do that, but could I delegate it? Yeah, I could have delegated it. I couldn't ditch it because he needed to get to school and there was nobody to look after him for the entire day because they would only look after him taking him to and from school. But actually, I could have delegated it. I could have rang my husband, could have asked him to take him, could have asked the girls to take him. So, yeah, and it's, and then I'm telling you something, I was so exhausted on Monday from the constant, balancing it all. I just felt fucking hell, like what? And then, yeah, it's just one of those days. And I've been procrastinating about it all week, actually, until today. And yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda is always the thing, isn't it? I should have done something differently, but hey ho, I didn't. So lesson learned for next time. But I think we really, really take a lot of pressure on ourselves. But by using the 4D method, read The Power of Focus, or just Google on the internet. Just Google on the internet. I sound like I'm like 100 years old. Just Google the Eisenhower method, 4Ds. And it'll come up, and it's just really useful to have. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, you've got shitloads of stuff to do. Christmas is coming, isn't it? That's always like a trigger, like a tipping point. Also, I find for parents, there's just so much to do. And yeah, it can be really, really beneficial for you. And it removes a lot of guilt. It can remove a lot of that water from that bucket of your capacity that is overflowing. Anyway, that's it for today. I feel much better for actually saying out loud that I was suffocating on Monday, because sometimes I feel when you keep stuff all up inside you, that can send you mental as well. But yeah, Monday was one of the worst days we've had I'd say probably a very, very long time, if not probably up there in the top 3 moments, if I'm being perfectly honest. Aren't I lucky? But we've ridden through it the other way. And yeah, I'm just grateful that I have a community where I can offload. So little bits and pieces, a little bit of an update. So if you haven't joined the Shelf Help book club, where is my book club that I run on a Patreon, it's £3 a month, £3 a month. Listen, actually, I'm thinking about it. Maybe we should do the Power Focus next month for December. But anyway, it's £3 a month to join. You don't have to read the book. If you want to get the book and read it along, amazing. But actually, I do 2 weekly podcasts, so you don't have to read it. You can just listen, and we set small, tangible, actionable steps that help us implement it, because it's all about making our life and load a lot easier. If you've got a child with PDA and you are thinking, I cannot fucking do this anymore, I need somebody to connect with, I need somebody to help me, I feel like I am drowning, come and join my PDA parent circle. Listen, it is a vibe. Every single parent has a child with PDA, diagnosed or undiagnosed, and we are there to support each other, make you feel like you're not going so mad. And I'll leave I'll leave the links all in the show notes. I'll leave the book link for Amazon in the show notes also. And yeah, basically, have a really good week, guys. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe for next week, December, get on Google, look at the 4D method by Eisenhower, and plan your week ahead and look at what you can do, what you can delegate, what you can ditch, and what you can defer. All right, guys and girls, thank you for listening. Please, 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 if you like what you hear, it really, really helps my ratings across all the platforms that the podcast is on. It'd be really grateful if you could download, subscribe, rate, and review. I would love you forever. And yeah, take care, everybody. Have a great week. Love ya.